All right, it is 7:15 on the dot. My voice is still messed up from watching FC Cincinnati on Saturday. I'm Fox 19 Now First Alert Meteorologist Brad Maushart with the 7:15 weather show. Waiting for a couple other people to show up here. I know I kind of started a little bit late. Usually I try to get about a minute heads up for people to join, but nonetheless, messed it up tonight. 7:15 on the dot. I see a few people here, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully, you didn't. If you're watching, you survived our first snowfall of the season. Not anything that it was a little bit more than some of the models were leading on to. Temperatures stayed just a few degrees cooler outside today, so a lot of that snow is still on the ground in a few spots tonight. Luckily, the roads again were in most cases. The roads were in good shape. That wasn't a major problem, but. Tonight, we're going to have some issues on some bridges and overpasses like you can see behind me here because those have no insulation underneath, so they're going to drop with the air temperature. Temperatures outside tonight going to sink all the way back down into the low 20s, so any kind of snow that has fallen off and melted through the day or even just a little puddle here and there that melted through the day is going to try to refreeze, especially on those surfaces. So be safe as you head out the door tonight. Let's take a look at not just, like I said, it wasn't just any snow. It was a record-breaking snowfall at the airport today. The old record, I told you this last Friday. If you were watching last Friday and you were tuned in, I said, 0.3 of an inch, that's not going to be too hard to beat. That's definitely a beatable record, right? 0.3 of an inch, certainly beatable. We beat it. We didn't even just barely beat it. I mean, we smashed it. Buried it in 2.1 inches of snow at the airport. Some areas picked up significantly higher amounts. We had some measurements out of Clinton County near Wilmington, over 5 inches of snowfall up that way. The models, I mean, they were coming in pretty hot last week. If you were watching the stream, I was saying, I don't know about that. But they did. I mean, the European model in general, that was the one that was showing the higher amounts anyway. Much of last week, the GFS, the American model, eventually caught up. We showed you those model comparisons last week, but it was quite a bit of snowfall. So in some of those areas, the roadways are going to be a little bit worse, especially when these winds start to pick up late tonight. That's where we could start to see those issues with the refreezing, some slick spots on the roadways tomorrow morning. Wilmington, again, this is not the official site. The National Weather Service office in Wilmington, but this was a National Weather Service office team member there that measured that near Wilmington at 5.1 inches. Blanchester, 5 inches there. Hillsborough, 3.5 inches. So generally east and northeast of town is where we saw the highest amounts. Cheviot, though, I mean, you picked up over 2.5 inches fluff there. Bethel, 2.5 at the airport. That was the record breaker at 2.1. Again, not expecting much in the way of snowfall, additional snowfall through the night tonight. That's the good news. We're going to have to keep our eyes on a lake effect band that's going to try to push in through the overnight early tomorrow morning, but most of that, if we see anything, it's going to be some flakes, some flurries, and not much accumulation from that. So, with that said, again, this is where earlier today even, before the sun even set, I was getting here to work and crossing the Brent Spence, and it was icy. Right, it was slick already. What happens in a lot of spots, and this was the lower deck, and you're saying, well, how'd that work? A lot of people don't clean their cars off, right? Or they just, they have some, melting snow still on their car that drips onto the bridge, or the big of snow comes off on the bridge, right? And that makes things a little slick later at night, and that's what we've been seeing outside, those slick bridges, and this goes for any bridge, not just the Brent Spence or the Clay Wade Bailey or anything, right, where we did have some of that snow come off, or the snow is blowing back on tonight because we'll see some gusts over 20 miles an hour. That's that sign up there in the top right that a lot of times during the summer you look at and kind of chuckle. This is the one time of the year where it's applicable. The bridges are going to ice before those other roadways. Got to watch out for that tonight because they're going to cool down with the temperatures, and just about everybody is below the freezing point already and on our way to the low 20s. So be especially careful tonight because we do have a lot of bridges out there. Here's what we dealt with through the day today. This is a time lapse. I like to bring this up because it's a pretty cool shot. You can see that snow hitting downtown, sticking to the camera lens. It was a wet snow, but still kind of fluffy at the same time. So that's how we managed to get some of those higher totals. With that said, once we hit the afternoon, that snow finally dripped off the camera just a little bit. with just a few peaks of sunshine that helped to melt some of that away, but even still by 2:30 it was snowing here downtown, and then finally we saw some peaks of sunshine. Here's what's going to lead to the cooler temperatures. You saw those skies clear out there towards the end. It was a great sunset, but clear skies, you know what that means this time of the year. It's like taking the blankets off. We're down to 27, and you can see the winds have started to whip up. 17-mile-an-hour winds right now makes it feel like just 14 degrees. Not great for Brad's dinner break. It is not going to be a eat outside kind of evening, I don't think. 14, the feels like temperature right now at the International Airport, and that, it's just one of the spots here in town. 14 here, 14 at Hillsborough, Wilmington on the northeast side that saw the snowfall. 15 degrees there, feels like 15 in Lebanon. Make sure to grab a big coat if you're going to be heading out and about. It's going to be cold not just tonight, but also tomorrow, because these winds are going to get even worse. We'll see some gusts through the day tomorrow, over 20 to 25 miles an hour, and that's going to make it feel no better than the 20s in most spots tomorrow. Actual air temperature is going to get in the upper 30s, low 40s in a lot of spots, but it's not going to feel that way with all the wind we're going to start to see through our Tuesday. So it's been a lousy start to the week. We saw record-breaking snowfall. We're now seeing bitter cold temperatures. But once we get past a case of the terrible Tuesdays, we are in the clear. We are on our way to a really nice end to the week. Stray shower chances, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but it's going to be back in the 60s like it never happened by the end of this week. With just one more lousy start to the day tomorrow there for our Veterans Day. Here's what I'm talking about when it comes to lake effect snow bands. You can see that lake effect band coming off of Michigan right now. And the fetch, or the kind of direction the wind is going to be blowing, is out of the northwest. So if it hits the lake just right, let me go ahead and erase that and try again. If we have that northwest wind and it picks up all that moisture off of Lake Michigan and starts pushing through, there's certainly a chance we could see a few flakes from that flying towards Fayette, Union counties, Franklin County tomorrow morning. Right now the flakes have stopped before they've gotten to I-70, but we'll keep a close eye on that because the direction of that hasn't been great. You can see it's kind of running into Michigan there first. But if we get it just right to where, it's coming off of this portion just east of Gary, right around the dunes or whatever, and coming over the lake, and it avoids all this right here first, we could certainly see some of those flakes reach our area tomorrow morning. So something to keep an eye on with that. I'm not expecting a ton of additional accumulation, but it could limit visibility and make things even more miserable to go along with the gusty winds. So something to keep an eye on for your Tuesday. The cold is for everybody. I mean, you're gonna need the big coat tomorrow if you're heading out and about. Give yourself a couple extra minutes. If you haven't gotten the low tire pressure warning yet this season, so you've somehow dodged that, you're probably not going to tomorrow. 19 tomorrow's low in Wilmington. It's going to feel colder than that. Right now it already feels like the mid-teens in most spots, so we could probably see a few single-digit readings in the wind chill department tomorrow morning. Slick spots likely, especially those bridges, overpasses. Just be very careful on those. Don't try to switch lanes. Just kind of stay straight and narrow there on the bridge to try to avoid any incidents. Like I said, I was on the bridge earlier and it was already pretty slick. I was worried that, once you start to go back up the Brentspets there at the end, that I wasn't going to make it because the car in front of me was going a little slow. Either way, if you have four-wheel drive, obviously this will be less of an issue for you, but for all those that don't, watch out for the slick spots tomorrow, especially with this breeze. It could blow in some, especially areas northeast of town that saw the heftier snowfall amounts with a 25-mile-an-hour wind, right? You could start to see some of that snow come back onto roadways that have already been cleared before. So the snow plows will probably be out still tonight, trying to keep a heads up on some of that. Tomorrow, 39 for the evening commute. Again, not going to feel that way. It's going to feel like the 20s. How am I doing today? What is the weather for Canton? Cold, maybe some snowflakes, and I'm doing great. Darla, good evening to you. I am having a great day. It was a really nice weekend. FC Cincinnati won, which is always great. Voice was a little shot, and then I got a lot of cleaning done yesterday. That was what I did. That anybody cares about. But it was an inside kind of day. It was kind of a lousy Sunday when it comes to weather. It was rainy, and then of course now we had the snow. So I was inside cleaning all weekend. But it's nice. Woke up to a clean house this morning on the way back to work. So no big issues there, and if you want another day to call in sick, tomorrow would be a good one if you're going to be out and about tomorrow. All right, here's the feels like temperatures tomorrow. And I think this might be on the warmer side of things because we already have feels like temperatures in the teens. And we're going to drop another 5-10 degrees in a few spots before tomorrow morning in the actual temperature department. So I think this might be even a little warmer. You could probably try to drop that, number 5 degrees in a few spots, and that's where we'll be tomorrow morning. A very, very cold start, and as you can see, even through 4 o'clock, it does not get much better than that. Mid-20s to upper 20s in terms of feels like temperatures through the afternoon. That wind is going to be with us all day long. Winds do calm down a bit tomorrow evening, so yes, the feels like temperatures do rise a bit even after sunset tomorrow because the winds will calm down, but it's still going to feel like the mid to upper 20s in a lot of spots. So very cold Tuesday. It does get better. Here we go. Wednesday, we're back to 53. Most of that snow is going to be out of here by Wednesday. If it's not gone Wednesday, it should be gone by Thursday. And if it's not gone yet, in some areas, maybe Clinton County, that area, northern Highland County, might still have a few flakes on the ground there by Friday, but that'll be gone by Friday. 60 degrees, it'll be like it never happened. We are right back to above normal in a lot of spots midweek. That's the chance for a few sprinkles tomorrow. Again, not really sold on that. But there is a chance that we could see a sprinkle or two tomorrow afternoon. A whole lot of nothing for the rest of the week until we hit Friday. And that's the next chance of anything. And it will be wet and not wintry because by Friday we'll be hitting the 60s again. Slim chance mostly to the south. Saturday, another chance off to the east, but that pushes out. The rest of your Saturday looks really, really good. And then Sunday's the next best chance of rainfall after this, but not a washout by any means. So that's great news for the UC fans. The home game again on Saturday looks pretty good for that. All right, just a slim chance early, and then we'll dry back out for the rest of the day. Sunday also, spotty, not a washout. And certainly not as miserable as what we saw outside yesterday with the temperatures tumbling through the day. Into Tuesday of next week. This is next Tuesday, the 20th. We'll start to see more active weather pulling back in again, but that is more than a week away. So, long ways to go on that. In terms of expected precipitation between now and then, not a ton. It's going to be pretty quiet the next 10 days. Not to say we're not going to see some sprinkles at times or a bitter cold morning tomorrow, because we will. But other than that, nothing big the next 10 days, which is always good. What is boring for me is good for you. Not that it's even boring. There are things to talk about, but nothing real big, which is always good. Here's the temperatures the next 10 days. Like I said, like it never happened. One big brief blast of winter that lingers through our case of the terrible Tuesdays tomorrow, and then it's all up from here. We are back above normal by as early as Thursday or Friday, and then Saturday we're in the 60s as well. Sunday, even by the end of that forecast, it's going to drop down again in the temperature department. We're not like 30s and 40s, just mid-50s out there, low to mid-50s, and that is still above normal for this time of the year. The above normal trend continues right on through the start of the week of Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving proper because that is the 27th, but that takes us to the 24th, which is the Monday ahead of Thanksgiving. And you'll see that we are still firmly planted in the above normal outlook there for the next 8 to 14 days. We'll keep an eye on that cold air off to the west, but at least for now, things are looking all right. Here's the first 7 of a 10-day forecast. We'll go ahead and pull this up full screen, cross zoom, so you can see it. One more day to get through here that's going to be lousy, and then things start to pick up through the rest of this week. 20s, low 20s tomorrow morning. Easily the coldest air of the season so far. The record for tomorrow morning is 19 degrees. We will make a run at that. We're already in the mid to upper 20s right now. 19 is the record low. That was set back in 1996. And I think we get close. The wind might help us a little bit in that case, keeps that colder air from settling. But for right now, chilly either way. Lose-lose situation. The wind could help us from hitting 19, but it could also make it feel like 10. So that's where we're at tomorrow morning, 22. 40 for the high, and it's not going to feel like 40 at all. Just a lousy Veterans Day. Sorry about that. 53 Wednesday. It does improve from there. Thursday looks good. And then Friday, like I said, like it never happened. Just a spotty shower there, morning sprinkle Saturday for UC, and then it's dry the rest of the day. And then Sunday's the next best chance of rain. That'll cool us back down into next week, just a few degrees. We're back to 54 Monday, 51 Tuesday, and we hang around the low to mid-50s from there on out, with maybe slightly more active weather sliding back in by the end of that 10-day forecast. I don't see any more comments. That's always great. It's 7:30. I don't want to ruin your Monday any more than I already have. So enjoy the rest of your night. Please be safe out there tomorrow if you have to hit the road early, because I do think we'll see some slick spots. It'll be a problem tomorrow. Expect some slowdowns, pack your patience, and wear the big coat because it will be miserably cold. There on out, that snow will melt away here by the end of the week. So just one more cold, wintry taste before we warm back up to the 60s by Friday. Looking forward to it already. Happy Pizza Week. Go FC Cincinnati. They have a whole week off because of the stupid international break. I don't know who schedules these things. And then they're back on the 23rd. We'll keep an eye on that. That's still more than 10 days away. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hopefully it wasn't too bad out there. We'll see you again tonight at 10 and 11.